Welcome back to 28storms.com. This is a special early morning update on this Tuesday, June 21st. And the reason behind this update is Hurricane Beatriz is steadily intensifying. And not only does it continue to show signs of further intensification, but it's also making a beeline for the Mexican coast at this early morning hour. We've had a microwave satellite pass within just the last few hours, and as you can see on the most recent imagery, we're now beginning to see an eye-like feature begin to appear on both of these sets of images. This animation begins early yesterday afternoon when we still had the ability to look at visible imagery, and as it becomes nighttime we begin to switch over toward the standard infrared. But even with the standard infrared, we now begin to see an eye-like feature even appearing on the basic satellite. We can also see the beginning stages of a ragged eye-like feature on the latest enhanced infrared and also the rainbow color infrared loop. There it is. There's our eye-like feature now beginning to pop up in the last few frames. Here's a look at the zoomed in water vapor floater imagery, and as we can see, there is plenty of moisture in all quadrants of the storm. There is also very little restriction of the outflow channels. If anything, the poleward outflow channel is restricted a bit toward the northwest, as we see a sharp cutoff between the outflow and some dry air to the northwest. And that boundary also denotes the cutoff line between the favorable upper level ridge axis currently located above the storm and a little bit more wind shear and troughiness over to the storm's northwest. This is simply another zoomed in look at the latest enhanced infrared of Hurricane Beatriz, and there are two things I want viewers to notice on this latest image. First off, as mentioned previously, that eye continues to become more visible with every single satellite update as it continues to move off toward the north-northwest, and without more of a bit of a turn toward the left, areas like Manzanillo could be facing a direct hit with some of the strongest hurricane winds embedded within this particular storm. Again, the latest maximum sustained winds are now up to 80 miles per hour, and there is a slight chance for a bit more intensification. The only promising thing is that as the storm begins to continue paralleling the coast this closely, the odds of more intensification, and especially rapid intensification, diminishes significantly. Nevertheless, it already looks like the northeast tip of the eye wall has already crossed the coastline, meaning that hurricane force winds are more than likely already being felt along portions of the coast to the southeast of Manzanillo. Now, as the center continues to move more toward the north, Manzanillo will more than likely face the brunt of hurricane force winds within the next 12 hours, especially since the storm has yet to make a turn toward the left. Here is the latest official forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. As you can see, the National Hurricane Center still believes that Beatriz will make more of a turn toward the west before the eye goes directly onshore. Nevertheless, they still have hurricane warnings for much of the immediate area, and notice their cone of error still includes a good percentage of the Mexican coastline to the northwest of the eye. Therefore, it would not be unexpected if the storm did make a direct landfall. This is the latest spaghetti model plot. As you can see, every single model except for the L bar, which is a model that is really not that useful anymore in this day's age of technology, every single model now turns the storm toward the west as a mid-level ridge of high pressure is expected to build back over much of northern Mexico and the southwest United States. There is no doubt that the storm will eventually make a turn toward the left. However, the models have had some trouble in figuring out exactly when that more westerly turn will occur. It will happen within the next 24 to 36 hours, but as you can see, the models have had to be shifted a bit more toward the north with each passing run since that turn has yet to begin. As of right now, it looks like the center will pass dangerously close to the city of Manzanillo, and at this point it looks like at the very least the eye wall, which is the area of the storm that packs the strongest winds, will pass over the city, and that will be the case even if the eye itself remains just to the southwest. Here's another striking microwave animation. As you can see in the last few frames in the last couple hours, the eye is becoming highly more evident as it begins to now move into some of the Mexican states of Morelia and then eventually Colima within the next few hours. Here is a more regional water vapor image, and as you can see, there is a long wave trough currently over the western United States. In fact, that is the very same trough that caused a very significant amount of severe weather over the Midwest United States, causing over 40 tornado reports, and there will be more severe weather on the way later this afternoon. In the meantime, our hurricane is still located to the southwest of Mexico, and this trough is still expected to bypass the hurricane, and it will eventually lead way or give way to the re-strengthening of mid-level ridging over much of northwest Mexico, which will eventually allow this storm to turn more toward the west and eventually out to sea. The latest SIM steering wind analysis in the mid-levels of the atmosphere also captures the overall pattern fairly well. Once again, this is the mid to upper level trough over the central United States now, and this trough will quickly lift out over the next 24 to 36 hours, and that will give way for this subtropical ridge to the west of California to gradually build more toward the east again, which will help to turn the storm back out to sea toward the west. Once that turn does begin, Beatriz will quickly move into cooler sea surface temperatures and dissipate fairly rapidly. So once that turn does begin, we won't have to worry about Beatriz much longer. Finally, I would like to say that despite the fact now that hurricane-sustained winds are likely along the coast, I still feel as though the biggest threat with this storm will be the threat of heavy rainfall, flooding, and mudslides, especially in areas of higher terrain. The forecast models, which include the GFS and the NAM, both expect over 5 to 10 inches of rainfall along the immediate coastline, with areas or isolated areas receiving in upwards of 10 inches. Now, this does not even factor in terrain. Areas of higher terrain will more than likely receive in upwards of 10 to 20 inches, as noted in the official National Hurricane Center discussion. Thus, the likelihood of deadly mudslides is fairly high in some of those high terrain regions, and that will be the main concern with this storm. With all that being said, I hope that everyone within the hurricane warning area has prepared wisely for the arrival of Hurricane Beatriz. It is pretty much too late now to begin to make any change of plans, as the hurricane is now bearing down on you, and it would be safer to pretty much hunker down within your home at this point and safely ride the storm out as best as possible. Thank you for checking out 28storms.com. We will have another tropical update for you by tomorrow afternoon.